There he is.
Hello.
How's it going, dude?
It is going well. How you doing?
Great. Appreciate the time, man, and want to get into both bands with you if that's cool. But let's get the party started with Fake Figures, man. A brand new EP out and brand new singer and drummer moving to the singer position. What do you know about that? But
Yeah,
about
yeah, exactly.
talk about that change a little bit with Steve moving from the drums to the vocal position on the new EP.
Yeah, well, we parted ways with our former singer, and we were in the position of finding a new singer, which, if you've ever been in a band, that's not an easy task. So we figured, I mean, we all knew that Steve could sing, very, very, very well. So we figured, let's just have him move up to the front. And then we got Matt Horowitz on the drums, who's a Orange County hardcore veteran of the scene. So yeah, it all worked relatively seamlessly, and we've been trucking on like that ever since.
Amazing how drummers do tend to make the best singers. I mean, historically, there's been a ton of them. You can go back to like Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, drummer
Yeah,
became a singer. It's weird. I don't know what it is, but it seems like there's a lot of people who do make that move. Even the guy from Nothing More was originally the drummer, Johnny Hawkins.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got like Phil Collins, Don
Yeah.
Henley. Yeah, there's a long list of drummers who do have some pipes. So yeah, and I guess now we fall into one of those, or fall into that category.
Dude, I gotta say, man, I'm sure it's the same for you. Whenever a song gets stuck in your head, that's kind of when you know it's a hit, and that's been Polymer for me, man. That song, that chorus just gets ground into my head. I'll be taking a shower and it'll just turn on in my head, that chorus playing through. Anything in particular you can tell me about that tune?
It's definitely one of our, I guess, catchier tunes. Some of the stuff I write is tends to kind of be a little left of center, um, a little, I guess, just straight up weird. But yeah, that one is definitely more of, I wouldn't necessarily call it a pop song, but it's definitely has a pop arrangement. And, like you said, the chorus is obviously very hooky. So yeah, that's kind of like the lead single off this EP, and it's gained some traction and some momentum at radio here and there. So yeah, we're stoked on it.
Yeah, it's a great tune, and the whole band as a whole. I know it's been around for a while. This is really kind of my introduction to it, and there's a distinct '90s vibe in all the music. And talk about that and your inspiration for this band, because obviously you want to do something different than the day job when you create a second band, which you've done. But where was the '90s inspiration coming from?
Well, I mean, I've always been a 90s kid. I mean, that's the era that, like, I grew up in, and I think that was when I was obviously the most impressionable. So a lot of the music from that era has always stuck with me. Um, we never really said, okay, we're gonna make, what's our sound gonna be like? Oh, it's gonna be 90s. We never said that ever. Uh, but it just kind of came out that way, like, just kind of like single string, simpler riffs. It's heavy, but without all the testosterone, which I think, in the 90s, I think that was a very big thing. So I mean,
Melancholy.
right, yeah, yeah. So, you know, anything from like Helmet or Prong to like Queens of the Stone Age, Alice in Chains, stuff like that. And it's not to say that we sound exactly like it's straight out of the 90s, obviously. I
No.
mean, the production doesn't lend itself to that, and their overall songwriting. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't a 90s vibe to it.
And in this band, is there any live shows in the future? Are we thinking about any one-off shows? Probably not a tour, but at least some one-off SoCal shows, maybe.
Yeah, hopefully. It's kind of tricky with the five of us because we all have our own personal lives and whatnot, and then I'm always going on tour, coming back from tour, and stuff like that. So it's a little tricky, but yeah, I mean, we're definitely keeping our eye out for some shows. I mean, obviously in the Southern California area, but if we ever got the opportunity to, travel out a bit, we definitely try to make it work.
Yeah, I would think at least something SoCal, close to
Yeah.
home for when to
Yeah.
jump on, even if it's at a club or something. Imagine you wouldn't want to do double duty on tour.
I could probably do it, I
Yeah,
think. I mean, I say that now, but
three
I'm
days in, you'd
not
be like, forget it.
right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not getting any younger, but yeah, I mean, if again, like if the opportunity were to arise, I would definitely try to take advantage of it.
Speaking of you and physically, man, I don't know if it started like during the pandemic, but you're not missing any days at the gym. You've kind of bulked up over the past couple years here. When did that start for you? Did it start during the pandemic?
No, it was kind of before that. Like I stopped drinking about 9, almost 10 years ago. And so with like, I was waking up without hangovers, which was a new thing for me. So I figured, okay, well, I got all this energy and I don't feel like complete garbage. I may as well do something productive with my time. So I started kind of, going to the gym. And then, I figured, well, if I'm going to the gym, I may as well lock in my diet a little better. Plus, like getting older, I can't live off the Del Taco menu like I used to, as much as I'd love to. It should, that ship sailed. So yeah, it's just kind of, it's like it's a longevity thing for me, like even now that I'm, I guess, somewhat more health conscious than I was back in my 30s and especially in my 20s. It's, like getting out of bed takes a little longer, and I hear all these pops and cracks when I'm walking up and down stairs. So uh yeah, I mean, time will take its toll on us. It's coming for us no matter how much we try to avoid it. So I'm just trying to be Mother Nature and Father Time.
Any advice for us metalheads out there that want to get in better shape?
I mean,
Diet and
just
exercise?
yeah, I just move, like it's very easy to get stuck in a rut and end up just kind of sitting on the couch all day. Or if you've got like a desk job, living a sedentary life is very common for a lot of people these days. So yeah, I mean, just get up and move every day. It doesn't have to be, you have to be running a 5K every day or anything like that. Just, you know, pay and, kind of pay attention to what you're eating. I'm not saying like cut out all the stuff you love to eat, but maybe think twice about having that extra slice of pizza, which I have to do very, very, very often because I mean, I love junk food. So I have to kind of, pump the brakes on that a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I was gonna say with not drinking, does food kind of take that place, like as like that kind of treat reward, kind of like when you want to splurge a little bit? Are you leaning towards the candy drawer instead of grabbing a beer like you might have done 20 years ago?
100%. Um, yeah, I mean, when I quit drinking, it left me with a really messed up sweet tooth. Like every time I go to the supermarket, I practically have to put on blinders every time I walk through the bakery section because I'm going to want to take all the cupcakes and all the cookies and all the donuts. So yeah, the baked confectionaries are definitely my vice.
One last personal bit of fitness from you, because I've run into that rut, man. I really kind of locked down during the pandemic and fell in love with burpees. So I do burpees every day, but I've been doing like 50 of them, like 10 sets of five for a couple years, and lost a bunch of weight. And now I feel like it's not working anymore. Now we say you have to kind of change up your routine.
Yeah, there's definitely you can reach a plateau, if you
Yeah.
if you're kind of just doing the same thing over and over again. So yeah, switching it up every now and again is definitely beneficial. And like you don't even need a full on, gym to get a nice, all you need is like a small amount of space. Like you said, burpees.
Yeah,
Burpees suck.
they do.
I hate them. But you know, with an exercise like that, like I said, you don't need a ton of space. You just need
Yeah.
maybe some body weight, or it's definitely easy to improvise.
Yeah, that's what made me fall in love with it. Like no equipment, don't need a lot of space. Get your ass kicked for a few minutes. I tried to do like 5 sets of 10 every day and kick my ass that way. But Yeah, I got to mix it up somehow because it's diminishing returns at this point now after a couple years doing it.
Exactly. You gotta have to kind of trick your body, always keep it guessing.
Yeah. Well, dude, I appreciate all the time. Got to talk a little bit about the day job and Atreyu, and I guess you're gonna have to help me pronounce it properly. The Pronoia Sessions. How do we say
Oh
that?
no, yeah, yeah, exactly.
When did this idea come up to kind of switch it up and do acoustic? Was that during the pandemic? Because you guys were doing some acoustic stuff during then.
It wasn't necessarily during the pandemic. It was actually it kind of came through when we were on tour. Part of our VIP package
Ah,
that we were offering was, like a meet and greet, but we'd also play a few songs acoustically, and people seemed to really enjoy it. So we figured, well, why don't we kind of, because we had never done anything acoustic before,
right.
so better late than never. But so yeah, I mean, we just figured, okay, well, let's pick some songs and just kind of reimagine them in a way. So yeah, I think I can't remember the exact, I think it's like not 8 or 9 tracks that we did plus 2 covers. So yeah, it's just kind of like a different side of the band that we're showcasing to people.
I love the Audio Slave cover, but I'm really kind of curious, and you can tell me or I'll have to wait and listen. But is Porter then doing all the screams acoustic over acoustic guitars?
No, we kind of, again, like it's more so like a reimagining. So he's not necessarily, screaming full tilt like he does at a normal Atreyu show. But yeah, I mean, we kind of like configured it and arranged it in a way to where, those parts are still there. They're just uh they're just there in a different form, so to speak.
Hmm. Well, I can't wait to hear it, man. It's going to be a trip to hear some of those songs like that that are, brutally heavy and then kind of broken down like that. And I got to say, man, thank you from the bottom of my heart as a fan for doing this Curse 20th anniversary show coming up at the House of Blues of Anaheim. I mean, it's going to be a sick bill. It's all Orange County metalcore, which is rad too, like bringing out, Death by Stereo and 18 Visions and your hometown area show. Best place to do it.
Yeah, we're definitely stoked on it. It's sold out. I can't remember the exact amount, the window of time, but it sold out pretty damn quick. And we figured, a hometown show, celebrating the anniversary of our second album called The Curse, having 2 very reputable Orange County uh, hardcore bands that we came up with
Yeah.
opening up, and they're also doing full album sets as well. So it's definitely going to be a special night. We're stoked on it.
And I got to ask a couple questions about the format of it all. You're going to play The Curse in its entirety in sequence, I imagine?
I assume so. I mean, I think that's the plan. But with us, I've learned to never assume anything because things can change at the very last second. So, but as of right now, I'm pretty sure we'll probably be doing, the full album front to back in order.
All the
And
little interludes and everything too?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we've got some stuff coming up. We've got a few festival shows this month and next month. But I think probably like late August into September, we'll really start to dial in what's going to go on, and how we're going to go about doing it, because as far as that show goes, it's right now it's kind of the calm before the storm, because like I said, it's a hometown show, which is awesome because like all the friends and all the family comes out, but it also sucks because all the friends and all the family come out. you
Distractions.
know, exactly. So yeah, it's going to be the week leading up to the show is going to be a very busy week, but regardless, I mean, we're definitely looking forward to it.
Is there anything on that album that stands out for you that's kind of your baby? I mean, that you're looking forward to playing that you don't normally play, like Five Vicodin Chased, or Nevada's Grace, or is there any deep cut that you're kind of like, oh yeah, that would be fun to play live?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Nevada's Grace. I As far as I can recall, I don't think we've ever played it live.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I mean, and a lot of these songs too, we haven't played in literal decades. So we all have a lot of homework to do.
Is there one that's your baby on the album, so to speak? You know, it's funny in looking at like whether it be online or even grabbing the old CD and trying to read through it, it doesn't ever distinguish. It's just all music by the band and all lyrics by Alex. But is there any one song in particular on the Curse that's kind of your baby that you created?
Honestly, it's been so long I can't remember. I mean, we all had a part in all of the music, whether it was, a simple melody line or a full on or the full song itself. So yeah, I mean, either way, I'm just stoked to kind of be either dusting these songs off or uh unboxing these songs that we've never played before live. So yeah, I mean, and I think it'll definitely, I mean, the nostalgia is a very powerful thing, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be doing the show because probably nobody would have cared. But yeah, I think everybody there, audience and ourselves included, it's going to be really cool to kind of not necessarily relive those days, but kind of take a look back on where we were at that time, because it's over 20 years ago. And, that's a very long time for a band to even exist, let alone be able to have an anniversary show
Yeah.
celebrating an album that's that old. So yeah, we're stoked.
Well, it's really cool that you guys are doing it because I know it's a chore for a band, but as a fan, especially an album like that, especially 20 years ago, where you just put the CD in and let it play, you really do know that album from start to finish and want to hear all the little interludes and everything in between because that's how we listened to it 20 years ago. So it's really cool that you guys are taking the time to do it live for us fans. Couple of last little questions on that. Uh, One is Kyle Rosa still playing drums with the band?
He is not. He opted to bow out. He's got two little girls at home that he wants to be around for. And, we 110% understand his decision totally. He's still part of the family, always will be. So right now we have our buddy Johnny Concannon, who's a drum wizard. He lives, eats, breathes, sleeps drums, and a lot of production stuff too. So that comes in handy very much. Having him be able to help out on that end. So, but yeah, we're still going strong. We're still trucking forward.
Last thing I got to put in your head for that show, being that Death by Stereo is going to be there, being that Ephraim's going to be there, perhaps you could go back to the album before and play At Least I Know I'm a Sinner since he'll actually be there to do it live with y'all.
I mean, it's not out of the cards. Like you said, he's there. I mean, we actually did play that song with him a number of years ago. We had a show at the observatory in Santa Ana.
Oh yeah, the
And,
Christmas show.
yeah. And he came out and jammed that song with us, and it was a blast. Ephraim's always kind of been like, or actually, I mean, Death by Stereo in general, they've always kind of been like our older brother band, you know? So yeah, it's always a good time to just see those guys, let alone share the stage with them.
Well, hopefully I can plant that in your head to do that one more time. We need that song live, and especially with him being there, it's a no brainer.
Exactly.
Travis, I appreciate all the time. Last thing I need your help with, dude. We're an old school radio station. We do a feature called Mandatory Metallica, which you're going to be a part of. And I've been having this little Metallica debate with my buddy and I, kind of coming down on opposing sides. So I want you to weigh in on this one. Fighting over Metallica's greatest thrash metal album ever, which kind of comes down to album number 2 and 3, Ride the Lightning versus Master of Puppets. If you had to pick one out of those two, which one would it be?
I'm gonna go with the obvious and say Master of Puppets. Um, me personally, my favorite album is Injustice for All.
Huh?
It's a very strange album to be considered your favorite, because each song is like 18 minutes long and there's
Right.
no bass. And but that was my entry point to Metallica, so I have a
Same.
very, very soft spot for that album. um but as far as you know the better thrash album between Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. I'm gonna say Master of Puppets. It was a bit more refined,
Yeah.
um, a bit more I guess mature. I mean, not to say that Ride the Lightning wasn't, because I mean, from Kill 'Em All to Ride the Lightning, there was a huge jump in musicality. But even from Ride the Lightning to Master of Puppets, there was an even bigger jump too, in my opinion. You know,
Yeah.
somebody might call me crazy or stupid or I don't know anything. Totally get it, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Master of Puppets.
No, I'm with you, dude. Like to be able to write like Orion and Welcome Home and like that kind of touching, and then still do Battery and Damage Inc. and everything else. Like I feel like it was kind of the whole spectrum of music where Ride the Lightning was a little bit more one dimensional and kind of sounded like crap.
Yeah, and you got to figure too. I mean, that came our Master of Puppets came out in '86,
Yeah.
so they were all still relatively young when they came up with that album. You
Yeah.
know, so I mean, kudos to them. I mean, Metallica's kind of my North Star. I mean, they're the reason why I do what I do.
Really.
So yeah, I'm forever a Metallica fan.
And is it all come down to James and that right hand and that down picking?
It's all of it, really. I remember the first time I ever saw the video for One. I had never heard music like that before. The only thing I really knew about metal was what I saw on MTV. So we're talking about like, Warrant and Winger,
Right.
bands like that. And then, their videos were all like big and colorful and, you know, pyro and, you know,
Girls.
chicks dancing on cars and stuff like that. And the One video was the complete opposite of that.
Creepy.
Yeah, exactly. And it was extremely depressing. And I remember just seeing it as a kid, almost kind of being scared by it. But when you're that age, you kind of become fascinated with the stuff that you're scared of.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my entry point.
Do you have a song we can play for you on Mandatory Metallica? What's your favorite tune? Would it be
Oh
one?
man. Um, let's go with Dyer's Eve.
Ooh, okay. Deep
It's
cut off of Injustice.
bit of a deep cut, but I think that was the era, and especially that song where James Hetfield, he just sounded the most pissed. You know what I mean?
I love it, beautiful, man. Thank you so much for the time. Dream to get to talk to you. Can't wait for that Atreyu show. And certainly, if anything Fake Figures pops up, let me know.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Take care.